The following opinions are solely those of BoatTEST.com and its test captain.
Hi, I'm Steve for BoatTEST.com, and today we're going to conduct a sea trial of a long-range cruising yacht that we think is among the simplest and easy-to-handle available. It's the M50 from Maritimo. This boat is built with Maritimo's core values firmly in place: simplicity, efficiency, and cruisability. The cruisability will be covered in another video, so let's focus on the first two as we tour her operational systems. We'll start with the enclosed flying bridge helm. This is probably the most distinguishing feature of the M50 and indeed has come to define the brand as a whole. The helm is to starboard. The panel fits a pair of 12 or 15-inch displays. Subordinate electronics such as the autopilot and depth gauge can go to the center of the mains, or even better, behind the engine control where they can be reached from the seated position. Just ahead of the engine controls are the bow and stern thruster controls. There's both a teak footrest and a flip-down footrest at the captain's seat, as well as the optional observer seat. An opening window allows visibility out the starboard side. For stern or port side docking, an optional set of controls was installed in the cockpit, and this now provides clear views of all sides of the boat for docking. Engine displays as well as the engine start-stops are on the forward bulkhead. Particularly useful was the remote for the thrusters that can be taken anywhere on the boat. This also eliminates the needs for pods and joysticks, but a joystick option that combines the mains with upgraded hydraulic thrusters is available. While here in the cockpit, let's take a look at the engine room. We mentioned Maritimo's core value of simplicity in all its designs. As such, as we enter the engine room, we see a representative example of that simplicity. It's among the most uncluttered and efficient engine rooms we've seen. For example, at the forward bulkhead there are 3, not 6 fuel filters, one for each of the mains and one for the 21.5 kW generator positioned at the aft bulkhead. The 2 1/4 inch shafts and the dripless shaft seals are easily viewable. The batteries are clearly labeled and housed in separate battery boxes. In fact, everything is clearly labeled. There's not quite standing headroom between the two 670 horsepower Volvo-Penta D11 main engines, and all checkpoints are in reach of the walkway. Fuel tanks are to the outboard sides of the engine room, and a sight tube tells the level at a glance, in liters in this case. As we move to the bow, there are deep walkarounds to both sides of the boat, but we'd still like to see grab handles to the cabin sides. The rail height exceeds ABYC standards and certainly adds to the safety factor of the transition. Fully forward is a horizontally mounted electric anchor windlass. A hydraulic option is available. There's a 30 kilogram stainless anchor and a heavy-duty roller and 60 meters of chain. Foot controls are to a step just behind, and controls are also at the helm. A cleat for securing the rode is in order here. While we're at the bow, there's a reinforced deck area to accommodate an optional crane for bow launching a tender. Not so welcome touch. As for the ship's electrical panels, those are back in the main salon. Let's take a look. Up overhead and to the starboard side, we have varnished teak door exposing the 12 and 24 volt power panels. To the opposite side, a similar compartment conceals the 120 and 240 volt panels. The battery switches are in a panel just at the base of the stairs to the flying bridge. So now that we've gone over the operation systems, let's get underway and see what's what. First, the dimensions. The Maritimo M50 has a length overall of 53 feet, a beam of 17 feet 1 inch, and a draft of 4 feet 3 inches. With an empty weight of 40,256 pounds, 70% fuel, and 3 people on board, we had an estimated test weight of 45,295 pounds. With the 670 horsepower Volvo-Penta D11s turning 5-blade 29-inch props, we reached a top speed of 30 knots at 2550 RPMs. At that speed, we were burning 60.5 gallons per hour for a range of 471 nautical miles. Her best economic cruise was measured at 1750 RPM and 17 knots. That speed reduced the fuel flow to 26.5 gallons per hour and increased the range to 611 nautical miles. If long distance is the goal, then back her off plane and run her at 1,000 RPMs and 8.6 knots. That will further lower the fuel burn to 6.6 gallons per hour and produce a range of 1,243 nautical miles. Now, one thing that Maritimos are so well known for is their sea-kindly hulls and handling abilities in rough conditions. We'd love to validate that here, but as can clearly be seen, we got glass calm water for our test day. However, we did get to validate a few things. Firstly, the hull produces minimal bow rise on acceleration, and the 50 quickly finds her way into a natural 5-degree bow-high cruise attitude. She also casts a relatively shallow wake. This all speaks to her efficiency while underway. Secondly, while crossing wakes, she shows why Maritimos are well known for rough seas. We couldn't get the 50 to even come close to pounding against the waves, and she just made a clean passage, sending water low and wide. Running through the backside of the waves showed straight tracking with no tendency to wander off course. More importantly was how responsive she was to the helm. With straight shafts and rudders, she was much more responsive than a similarly powered pod-driven yacht. Turns were immediate and the radius was relatively short with just enough lean into the turns to keep things comfortable, even with a heavy-handed captain at the helm. Of course, no one would normally operate it this way, but it was revealing. During turns, she leans a comfortable 7 degrees into the turn. Overall, this was an excellent boat to handle and quite easy to drive. Certainly, any owner-operator would be able to handle her both on the water and at the dock. And that's my full sea trial of the Maritimo M50. For BoatTEST.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.